According to Albert Bandura, the proponent of social learning system, behavior is learned from the environment through the process of observational learning. Most of our initial learning happens through observation, observing friends, family members, and the surrounding environment. That's how we make sense of the world. In this activity entitled Teacher's Knowledge on Content and Pedagogy, the third group will take an in-depth look of the practice teacher's observational report for the following learning arena: application of learning principles, reflective questions, strategies, technique throughout the learning process, their analysis, reflections, and of course the attached evidences and supporting documents. To start, let's proceed to the observation report. Here, we identify what part of the lesson and stated some evidences to support the indicated learning principles. Number 1. Effective learning begins with the setting of clear and high expectations of learning outcomes. You can see this at the very beginning of the lesson. Stated evidences. The teacher presented the lesson's objectives and intended learning outcome that the students need to accomplish after the discussion. Secondly, learning is an active process. It is where the teacher reviewed the class about the previous lesson and the assigned readings. During the review or recap, the students were able to answer the questions in their assignment provided by the teacher. Afterwards, the teacher relates the previous assignment to the lesson for this session. Third learning principle: learning is the discovery of personal meaning and relevance of ideas. This happens during the establishing of purpose for the lesson before presenting the new lesson. The teacher uses learners' prior knowledge, where learners answer series of questions as a springboard to start the lesson. The fourth learning principle: learning is a cooperative and collaborative process. Learning is enhanced in an atmosphere of cooperation and collaboration. This happens during the class discussion. The teacher demonstrates knowledge and mastery of the lesson by providing information relevant to the topic. Furthermore, the students actively raise their hands to share their inputs to the whole class and was applauded by the teacher.
Let's move on to the fifth principle. Learning involves creating supportive and responsive environments that are tuned to stimulate a learner to become active. It is influenced by the total environment. It's been observed throughout the discussion. The students actively participated in class recitation and could answer the given activities. The sixth principle is learners master basic and component skills through practice. It's been observed during the discussion of definitions and terminologies. The teacher emphasized the meanings of important words to make sure that they understood well. Next principle is learning is stronger and more permanent in a positive emotional climate. This principle has been observed throughout the discussion. The teacher started the class with a big smile and positive attitude that brought good atmosphere during the class discussion. And the last principle is acquiring and applying habits of mind improves learning performance. This principle also has been observed during the class activities. The teacher gave activities which let the students think critically, and those are the 8 principles of learning.
Good day. My name is Allyson Ferrer Gregorio. Question number 1. Are there other principles not applied by the teacher nor listed in the table? If yes, write them on the space provided. Answer. During the discussion, all of the learning principles are employed. The lessons are well organized with all of the necessary information available. The discussion meets the learning outcomes and students' expectations, and also the learning process is active.
I'm Mica, I'm Imperial. For question number 2, what skills are developed enhanced during the learning process? During the class of Mr. Villa, I noticed that there are a lot of skills that his students show. Some of these skills are their initiative to answer and give their opinions, and they are willing to participate in the given activity. They also exhibit their critical thinking skills. The student also enhance their written and oral communication. All in all, the student display their skill to cooperate.
Speaking James Brian Macaranas Prima. Question number 3. What did the teacher do to enhance or develop the needed skills? Answer. In critical thinking skills, the teacher showed various pictures before introducing the next subtopic, which is social differences. Here, they analyze and explain the pictures by giving the right terms and concepts that are related to the next topic. In creative thinking skills, he led his students to have a brainstorming whether this picture says a right term or concept. Also, they imagine ideas that involves reaching into the unknown and impossible terms and concepts. In communicating skills, the teacher and the student use technology that requires them to execute the learning process. Also, the teacher done reading, which is part of communication skills that is defined by decoding written words and images to understand the concept.
Speaking Jhon Edzel P. Milagrosa. For the question number 4, what communication skills were utilized by the teacher during the teaching and learning process? Based on my observation, I think the communication skill mostly used during the teaching and learning process is listening skills. Throughout the discussion, the students have the opportunity to share their thoughts and speak up about their understanding to the topic. Verbal and nonverbal communication is also present during the process, where students can freely communicate with each other and with their teacher. Nonverbal communication is where the students use the sign raise hand when they have something to tell and when they want to answer the given question.
Hi, I am Junio. To answer the question 5, describe how the learners respond to the communication strategies of the teacher. The students are able to respond attentively to the questions prior to the topic, participates and well-behave during and after class. They shared and exchanged knowledge and understanding within the class that are informative and useful.
I am Jessica Lamzon, and now we will identify the strategy or technique used by the teacher throughout the learning process. So our first procedure is the motivation, and this is an inductive method of teaching. Why? Because before starting the lesson, the teacher asked the students to have a recap about the previous lesson they had. Afterwards, students stated what they understand regarding the advanced reading given to them. The second one is the presentation of the lesson, and this is a deductive method of teaching because the teacher's aim is to condition the mind of his students. So, he gave an activity entitled Prior Knowledge Test. In here, the students are allowed to share their initial knowledge that has something to do with the topic to discuss. The third one is the development of the lesson, and this is a deductive method of teaching. As they progress, the teacher did not stick to the customary approach of spoon feeding, where the teacher is the sole source of information. In fact, there is a balanced interaction between the teacher and the students as they proceed to the important terms and concept of the lesson, and this encourages the student to engage.
Hi everyone, I'm Kenneth G. Macasieb. For generalization, closure, drawing insights, the lesson is not yet finished because there is not enough time. It will be continued next week. For enrichment, application, fixing skills, it is inductive method of teaching. And for some reasons that the lesson was not completed, the instructor gave a take-home activity to the students to enrich their knowledge. The teacher gives an activity that will show the social differences in terms of gender roles, sex, etc., and the students will provide their answer by describing it. The students will be expanding their knowledge of division. For assessment and evaluation, the lesson is not yet finished because there is not enough time. It will be continued next week. And last, for agreement and assignment, it is inductive method of teaching. So, the teacher or instructor Give some assignment that they need to answer and pass to the time given by the teacher. Students will submit their outputs into their application platform for their record purposes.
Good day everyone, I am Darryl Malicdem, and now let's move on to the analyze part of the activity sheet. Question number 1. Are the learning principles applied by the teacher appropriate with the nature of the learners and learning conditions? Why or why not? Yes, the applied learning principles were appropriate with the nature of the learners and the learning conditions. We are sure that the grade 11 students were capable and mature enough to understand the lesson and answer the activities and questions given, since they already encountered some or most of those concepts and type of questions during their junior high school days. Mr. Orpilio also delivered clearly his lesson to the class, even if it's an online setup. You can feel the atmosphere of a classroom because of the flow of the discussion, starting from a roll call for attendance and ending with an assignment. Students were given a chance to discuss and share their ideas just like during the face-to-face classes.
Mabuhay! I'm Michael J. Montemayor. For the question number 2, did you observe passive learners? If yes, what might be the reason why they are passive or silent? Yes, I observed some passive learners. They were more students who are not raising their hands or sharing their inputs when it's given a chance. To be honest, it's really difficult to tell the reasons. Maybe they were shy, afraid, unsure, or don't have some confidence to recite because they think that they have wrong answer and be embarrassed in front of the class. Some might be intimidated by their classmates. Others may have slow internet connections, or others just don't want to recite.
Good day. My name is Vincent di Maniflor, and I'll answer the question. Are the communication strategies used by the teacher appropriate to the level of the learners? Justified. The communication strategies used by the teacher is appropriate to the level of the learners. The different communication strategies that we mentioned above proved to be effective, especially for the level of learners that we observe. The type of students that the instructor is handling are teenagers, which has a shorter attention span compared to college students. The communication strategies used were able to keep them interested and listening to the discussion, which transforms into ideas that were later shared to the class. It made the discussion effective and more interactive.
Here's the last question for the analysis. If you are the teacher, what possible learning principles and strategies would you apply to elicit meaningful learning? Considering the present state of our educational processes, I would still apply cooperative and collaborative learning process to enhance the atmosphere of unity. I know before they attend to their class, some faces few errands and hardships personally or socially. That's why erasing the pressure in teaching and learning process will help them experience meaningful learning. By valuing teamwork, they can achieve a unified goal, which is to have a meaningful learning and improve themselves holistically.
Here are the reflections of our group.